Welcome back to the Global Gaming Network Power Rankings. Today, we're taking another look at Valorant. In our previous Power Ranking episode, we took a look at the Americas only, but with Masters Toronto around the corner, we're going to take a look at the international stage and compare the top teams in the world. Now, to join me on this journey, I've got, of course, our resident Valorant expert, Patrick Hollifield. How are we doing today, Patrick?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited for Toronto Masters. It's going to be a fun show. There's a lot of top talented teams going into this tournament, and they are going to put on one heck of a show.
I have to agree with you. It's going to be super exciting coming up this weekend. Masters Toronto is going to be a banger. Make sure you guys don't miss any of it. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how the top 5 were determined on our list. So we've got a formula that combines both expert opinions and hard data. The weighting is 30% from the expert consensus score and 70% comes from the performance index or PI. The PI includes Masters Bangkok placement, regional placement, and series win percentages. Now, with that understood, let's go ahead and jump into our top 5, starting from the bottom. In the number 5 spot, we have Team Heretics. They came in with a score of 72. Now, Heretics, they finished second at last year's champs, and this year haven't quite had the same level of performance. They did get third in the kickoff, so they barely did not get to go to Bangkok, but now they've qualified for Toronto. Now, the playoffs were very interesting for Heretics. They actually fell to Fnatic in the grand finals, even though a lot of people watching probably expected Heretics to win. So my question for you, Pat, is who on this roster has impressed you, and what do they need to do to have another strong international performance?
So I think this one's actually 2 people that really impressed me most on their team, and that, of course, one of them is Benji Fishy, everybody's favorite Fortnite player turned Valorant pro. Their Sentinel player who has had a dominant performance, loves to play Cypher, can really hold down the site for you. And then the other one's one that I feel like don't get as much love, which is Woot. And that's like their flex player. He plays Duelist alongside of Mini Boo, and he also plays the Initiator for when they need to run double Initiator. And he's there whenever you need him to be. That's what I love about a flex player is like most players within the Valorant pro scene, they pick one role, that's the role you're good at. So I love when a flex player really is able to flex themselves out and do these things that people normally cannot do. And Heretics, yeah, they finished second last season, and honestly, our stats say they're in 5th. But personally, I think they could do a little bit better. I think they're around 3rd personally. But Fnatic is their like counterpart in the EMEA. But other than that, they dominate everybody. And I foresee them doing really well in Toronto.
Okay, well, very interesting takes there. It sounds like perhaps Fnatic is just their kryptonite. And, maybe against international teams, they'll actually fare a bit better. So interesting takes from Pat. I also want to shout out, I think it's so cool to see Boo and Mini Boo, of course, the brothers from Lithuania. We don't see a whole lot of brothers on the same stage, on the same team together. So it's always easy to root for that kind of family story coming out in Valorant. So let's go ahead and jump into number 4, though, and that's going to be Rex Rigum Kwan, or RRQ. We're going to refer to them from now on. They actually had an insane performance this split. So they add Crazy Guy to the roster back in March. And this is a roster that was previously placing top 6, top 8. And then they add Crazy Guy. He's the new IGL. He's calling the shots. And all of a sudden they have ascended to now winning their entire stage. So I've been really impressed with Jimkin and Crazy Guy especially. But my question for you, Pat, is how has the addition of Crazy Guy as IGL impacted RRQ? And what makes Jimkin such a crucial player for this squad?
I think for a Crazy Guy with the IGL, it seems pretty simple, is that his calls are just fantastic. The APAC region is pretty much known for being very aggressive, very heavy with their retakes. And I think what he does great is he's able to get his team into position, have all of his players set up where they need to put their smokes, util, and really execute that on the site. Because like Gen G and like Paper X, other teams within that region, they're very aggressive in the sense of like they're just going to come at you maybe 4 through one way. Like there's not much detail there. Is where this team is able to analyze that. Crazy Guy does a good job of being able to tell what the opposing IGL is calling for their team, whether they're on attack or defense. And then we got Jimkin, who was dominant in that Gen G performance. He's able to get in, and he does what your duelist needs him to do, which is first bloods. he got, I think it was 26 first kills, only 14 first deaths. So that means he's winning the majority of his duels as soon as he enters on the site. And what more can you ask from a duelist than that? And he dropped 27 total on that Ascent game. And for RRQ, I think they're going to do fantastic. I do think they are set a little bit high. I think the total APEC region, any one of those teams could be in this position, either Gen G or Paper X.
Wow, very interesting. And it's also interesting to note, too, that this is the same region that had T1, the winners of Masters Bangkok. And guess what? They didn't even make it to play in Toronto. So that just shows how competitive that region is and how strong a team you have to be to come out at the very top. So congrats to RRQ in doing exactly that. But let's go ahead and jump into number 3. That's going to be Sentinels. Now, Sentinels came in with a score of 81. And this team has been very consistent. They've had some impressive wins over, of course, MIBR, who they historically have had the better of. They also beat G2 once in the playoffs. Of course, they got swept or not swept, but they did ultimately lose in the grand finals. But they've looked good. They've had an interesting run so far. Obviously got 7th at Bangkok as well. So I'm curious to see how they're going to do on the international stage once again. My question for you is, do Sentinels really deserve to be in the top 3 internationally, in your opinion? And how do you see them faring in Toronto?
Being in the top 3, I feel like is a pretty tough question for a lot of people. I think some people would put Sentinels a lot lower, but I think us here at the office, we really appreciate Sentinels for what they are, because this is a team that was down 2 members at the start of the season. I mean, they lost Tens, who is, arguably one of the GOATs of Valorant. They also lost Sacy, who was a world champion. So that's 2 people they got to fill. And they got 2 good choices, Nere and Bang. But that's why they kind of had that slow start, because you're getting the feel of the team. You're filling it in. That's why Bangkok was a little unfortunate. But I think they do deserve it because, one, they are consistent, like you said. They've shown that by beating G2 to secure that spot to Toronto, because many people were doubting them that they'd even be able to get that far. John Cutie is a fantastic leader, and when Zekin is popping off, there's mostly nothing that can stop them. And their map pool is really good, especially with the addition of Sunset now and Fracture going out. That really also helps benefit Sentinels because they have a strong Sunset, they have a strong split, their Haven's pretty decent. So going into this BO3 and BO5 format, they definitely have a wonderful job of being able to compete with the top teams in the region, including G2, their North American brothers. Yeah,
it's a great point all around. I mean, G2, they did fall to them before, so it's not out of the question that they could, fall to Sentinels once again. When the stakes are higher and the map pools are deeper, I feel like that's when Sentinels does perform their best. So we'll have to see how they fare in Toronto. But with that understood, let's go ahead and jump into number 2 on the list. That's going to be Fnatic with a score of 88 in our power rankings scale. Now, Fnatic are kind of on a hot streak. I mean, this team have the young gun K-Jack, who absolutely popped off. I mean, plus 40 in the grand finals. These numbers are absolutely unheard of. New duelist to the roster this year. He made his name for himself, coming up the ranks of the Challengers Leagues. And I think he's really kind of let everybody know he's here to stay. Now, the rest of this roster, also, of course, Chronicle, Alpha Year, these guys are always putting up big numbers when it matters. And they didn't drop a single game to Heretics in the playoffs bracket. I mean, 2-0 in the winners finals, 3-0 in the grand finals. That personally surprised me. I thought Heretics was going to put up a better fight. But I mean, K-Jack had a 316 combat score in that series as well, which is just off the charts. So I want to ask you, Pat, what is it that's making Fnatic so good? Is it really just this young rookie duelist that's kind of bringing them to a whole new height? Or do you think maybe they're going to fall on the international stage?
Well, I hope they don't fall on the international stage. They've kind of had a little bit of a history with that, especially last year. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think a lot of people were really doubting Fnatic when Durkay left and they had to replace their duelist because he was an incredible duelist for their team. But also, I think another big hit is Crash. He's coming in from NRG and joining their team. Had a slow start with them as well, but I think that's really starting to pick it up now. And they're just hungry. Like I said, in 2024, they had a disappointing run coming off of 2023, and before they were looking fantastic, probably one of the #1 teams in the world back then. Then to slowly fall off has made them really get in there and get tight and get ready to win, because Boaster, he's a fun guy, but he's a great IGL. I mean, he was able to bring them back on that 11-2 comeback on the Icebox that everybody in Valorant knows about, which is crazy. And so for me, I think they're definitely the #1 team in the EMEA. Heretics can come close, but Heretics don't have that drive like they do.
Okay, drive is very important. You got to have the passion. You got to have the will to win. And maybe the roster from Heretics just getting a little stagnant. You know, they've had the same roster for so long. Sometimes a new player can inject new life into a roster, and I think that's what a lot of these other teams are doing and why they're maybe catching up to the likes of Heretics. But that's just my opinion. Let's go ahead and jump into the #1 spot. Now, if you're paying attention, you probably already know who it's going to be. But of course, it's going to be G2 coming in with a score of 98, almost a perfect score on our list, which is impressive. Now, these guys, I mean, they look unstoppable in the Americas. I mean, the last time they competed on the international stage at Bangkok, they finished second to T1, who, like we said, is not even going to be in Toronto. So it's like, who's going to be there to stop them now? I mean, we've seen Trent absolutely insane on the Taeho. Of course, Taeho just got nerfed, but I don't think that's going to stop him. I think he's going to be just fine even with the nerf. Pat, what do you think about this? Do you think that G2 has the chance to win the whole thing? And also talk to me a little bit more about Trent and Valen and what they do for this squad.
I mean, if we're just going off a pass from Bangkok, I mean, I think it's pretty simple to say that they definitely do have what it takes to be able to win. I think the biggest thing on people's mind is that Taeho nerf, because Trent was known for just playing Taeho. I'm pretty sure he played it 30 matches straight, which is just insane. Or 30 maps, not 30 matches. But I think he's good either way. I mean, we've seen before, if we look last year, if we look before Taeho was even an agent, I mean, he was a very good Sova. He's always been a very good player because you don't need the character to be able to aim. That's one of the big benefits of G2 is like they are literally a team of 5 slayers. Anybody on their team at any moment can drop 30. Like there is not a weak link in that team. Normally your IGL usually isn't the best fragger because, you know, they're more focused on leading your team and making calls and doing things like that. But not in Valen's case. He's had plenty of pop-off games, and that's what sets him apart from the other IGLs. It's what sets their team apart from the other teams. They're able to rotate. Their adaptability is one of their strong suits. That's why they can always out-rotate their opponents. They always know how to make the right calls. Their map pool is good. I don't think this nerf is going to do anything to hurt G2, and I have a strong feeling they are definitely most likely the team to win or to look out for the most here at Toronto.
Okay, that's a bold statement, but I mean, I don't know if that many people disagree with you. Maybe it's not even that bold, to be honest. I will say that, I mean, G2, Trent, like we said, I don't think Taeho is going to be a problem for him at all. I'm curious to see how they do against some of these other top international teams that they haven't played against before, though, because T1, that was the team that gave them a hard time. Coming from the APAC region, I wonder if just the style of play in APAC might throw them off, or if they've had time to prepare for these international regions. We'll have to see, but that's going to conclude our top 5. I do want to mention anyone watching might be a little bit surprised that we don't have a couple teams, XLG and Team Liquid. Now, these two teams, of course, very good as well. The problem is some are having visa issues or made last-minute team changes, so it's hard to rank them in the top 5 when we're not sure exactly how they're going to perform with their new 5th players. And then lastly, the last team I want to mention, and I know Pat is excited to talk about this team, is Paper Rex. So this is kind of our dark horse for this event. Tell me, what do you see in this Paper Rex squad, and why do you rate them so highly?
I think it pretty much goes back into what I was saying earlier about RRQ, is that the APAC region is very aggressive, and Paper Rex are like at the forefront of this. They have been ahead of the Taeho curve for a while now, and I think one that's going to be their biggest advantage is that they never really relied on Taeho in the first place, so their strategies don't need much of a shakeup. And then just their roster all around is just fantastic. It kind of leans into that G2 thing of they have a bunch of slayers. You got Forspoken, you got Jing, you got something. All these players are dominant in their roles, and Jing is probably considered one of the best Raze players in all of Valorant, and something is an incredible opper. And then they had the addition of Patman. This is when their team really turned around. And I think their aggressive play style is what's going to catch a lot of teams off guard here, because even in their match against RRQ, where they beat them, it was still a close game and ended up going 3-2. And every map that Paper Rex won was a complete sweep, like 13-2. Every map that RRQ won, they barely beat them by a couple rounds. So in my mind, they're basically just as good as RRQ, if not better. And I think that the other teams right here need to be a lookout, especially Team Heretics, since that's who they face in the first round.
It's going to be a banger first round matchup that we are certainly going to be
definitely
glued to. So thank you so much for all your insights, Pat. And thank you to the viewers for watching this. We're all going to be watching Masters Toronto. You all should be as well. This has just been one more episode of the Power Rankings. We're going to do more Valorant, but of course, other games as well. We got Call of Duty, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, so many different Power Rankings to go through. We're even going to jump into the top 5 players and not just focus on teams. So be on the lookout for those, and we'll see you guys in the next video.